Federal government approves national policy on 5G network in Nigeria. The Federal Inland Revenue Service evolves more ways of widening the nation's revenue base. Central Bank of Nigeria reschedules monetary policy meeting for 16th and 17th September 2021. Plus, oil gains for second session on lower U.S. output. Details of this and more on Business Express, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. The Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy has been given the go-ahead to begin the immediate deployment of the fifth-generation network across Nigeria. This followed the approval of a national policy on 5G networks for Nigeria's digital economy by the Federal Executive Council. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Ali Pantami, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
In a simple language, we can say it will open many opportunities economically, academically, educationally, and even in health sector. And it will also support our security institutions, particularly in areas where they need high quality services.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service has continued to evolve ways of widening the nation's revenue base. This is recorded success with the deployment of technology. Management of the service disclosed this in Abuja while interacting with the media. The FIRS also insists it is empowered by law to collect value-added tax on behalf of the federal, states, and local governments. With eyes on the target of raising a projected 10.1 trillion naira revenue in 2022, the Federal Inland Revenue Service has continued to evolve various means of expanding its tax net. The most recent is the deployment of technology through the Tax Pro Max solution.
We've been able to achieve an end-to-end processing on the life cycle of that taxpayer from the time the taxpayer registers and up on the time they pay their tax liability.
On collection of value-added tax, the FIRS, citing VAT Decree No. 102 of 1993, which later became an act of the National Assembly, the service is empowered by law to collect tax on behalf of the Federation.
In actual effect, 85% of VAT collected goes to states and local governments, while only 15% goes to the federal government.
The FIRS says VAT collected at the port of entry, at the seaports, from goods and services, as well as VAT paid from contracts for supplies and construction, among others, are shared to the three tiers of government, with 35% going to local governments, 50% to the states, and 15% to the federal government. Talking tax matters, news broke out this week that the FIRS is currently seeking the approval of the National Assembly to further amend the Finance Act to impose tax for online businesses on social media. The FIRS has refuted the news, saying the agency has no plans to tax social media businesses. Today on Business Express, we will still be looking at the possibility of including such tax in the Finance Act. Our guest is an economist, Tunde Tope Fasua, who joins us virtually. Mr. Fasua, welcome to Business Express.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me.
Okay, let's talk about the possibility of including social media businesses in the tax net. Do you think that is feasible?
Well, it depends on what social media businesses you have in mind. What I know that has become global best practice is the fact that the big businesses that are, internet based, like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, and co. Which do business around the world, but only pay their taxes in the United States, especially because most of them are coming out of the US, being taxed by every other country today, especially countries that are serious with their affairs, because these companies sell all around the world, and so whatever it is you can get, you get from them. Equally, United States of America has since put in a law in place, to the extent that any United States company or individual that makes money from anywhere outside the United States is bound to pay taxes to the United States, wherever it is you may have made your money. And so every country is waking up. But if we're talking about small companies that do business on social media, I think you need to get it right. I'm not sure that's the target. There are many small companies who make 20,000 naira on social media. I'm not sure that's what the government has in mind. I think the focus is on the large behemoths, the massive companies that do businesses around the world.
Yes, talking about the target, sure, smaller businesses should not be in our own thinking. But as a social media user, you get to see these pop-ups that advertise big multinational companies. Don't you think those ones should be the target?
Absolutely should be the target. Note that the same Finance Act that you mentioned earlier, has some very generous provisions for small businesses. Businesses that make 25 million naira and below as turnover every year, entitled to zero taxes, which is, I think, a very positive development, and a good thing for small businesses, that if you are not making 2 million naira turnover every month, the government doesn't need any tax from you. And that's the way to go, especially in this season where businesses are crawling and really struggling. But it's all of those pop-ups you see, advertisements from different places. You see, there's a lot of trickery involved in all of these things. They're going to market, you, and say, oh, come on our platform, pay money to Facebook, do adverts. We're going to reach 10 million people for you on Twitter. Twitter is particularly very notorious for that. I've done several adverts on Twitter. I've never really seen the bang for the buck. Facebook is a little bit better in my view. But all of this, they take so much money from people around the world. And every click, sometimes they charge money for every click that you make. So you see, we have actually turned a lot of data to these companies. We're begging them to take our data, and then they now sell the data back to us. For every data you add, for everything you click, all of this is data which have then sold on to other people. The real business is data. Okay, so the point now is, okay, fine, whereas we cannot stop them doing this data business and making their money, and with the reach that they have all around the world, and the fact that they are the cutting edge of technology. But I think a smart country will think about, okay, what can we claw back? Okay, what can we claw back from some of these guys? So the focus should be on the large companies, in my view.
Well, that is to say there is no cause for worry. I'm coming from the fact that when the news broke out talking about a review of the 2020 Finance Act, more like an amendment, people were apprehensive. Are they going to come after us or what? But from your explanation, are you saying
No,
there's no cause for worry,
yes.
particularly for small businesses?
Well, first of all, they are all covered. 2 million. You see, when Twitter was banned in Nigeria, I saw quite a lot of reviews online and people complaining and saying that, hey, the government is taking our business and all of that. And then they start. A lot of them were saying, oh, they make 24,000 naira in a week. Some said 30,000 naira a month. Look, the government doesn't have business with those people. They are covered by the Finance Act. 25. If you're not making 2 million turnover a month, even as a properly established business, you are not obligated to pay taxes to government. Okay, and again, what is even tax? Tax is actually what government takes after you may have made profit. If you are not making profit, you don't owe government any taxes. So we should actually get out of the mode, and I think that's the reason. That's what the media should do. Please, Nigerians need to get out of all that panic mode, always opposing everything from government, taking on a kind of role of antagonism with government, suspecting that they want to rip you off. Because in time, the crop of leaders will go, others will come, but would have established a toxic relationship between the followers and the leaders, and we would actually just be on one spot digging the hole that we're in. So there's no reason why anyone doing a small business online, selling, tiger nuts on social media, whatever, should worry that government wants to come after them for when they have actually been protected by the same finance act that actually gives a lot of leeway for small and medium scale enterprises to breathe and do some businesses so that people can survive.
Okay, Mr. Faswa, it will now seem that the federal government is trying to get all the revenue it can possibly get to fund a budget that is running into some sort of deficit. Would you say the best way is the tax way? And what other ways do you think government should look out for aside widening this tax base we're talking about?
Yeah, it's very important. Nigeria has one of the lowest tax compliance rates in the world, and in fact, the lowest tax to revenue ratio, 6%. Okay, when even countries in Africa, Ghana, there has set about 25%. We're even the lowest in Africa, meaning that we're probably the lowest in the world. Even Arabic countries who never used to take taxes have now started to introduce VAT and all of that, and they're very strict about compliance in that regard. Even Saudi Arabia and the UAE, So I think we need to get serious. We the people will ask government, we haven't done this for us. We have such a huge infrastructure deficit. We need to expect that taxes will go up. And it's not only tax. Government is due to collect taxes, rates, dues, duties, fines, okay, and what are the levies? All of those things we should expect to see more efficiency. And our role is to ensure that government actually uses those monies for exactly what they said they want to use them for. So vigilance, eternal vigilance is still very, very key. But if you leave this country and go elsewhere, the other time I was in Ghana, we went into a restaurant, and by the time we got the bill in the restaurant in Osu in Ghana, we're seeing 17.5% VAT, 2.5% national health insurance, 2.5% education tax fund. I was shocked. But that's Ghana. They are very strict about their taxes. Nigerians, sometimes we want the best of ourselves and for our country, but nobody's ready to chip in, and that's why we're where we are today. However, there are also luxury taxes, which under Okunjo, they try to bring in, but they lost. The political will is not there because the big men don't want to charge themselves. If you say you want to take property taxes in Nigeria, the big guys who own all the houses and all the big buildings will come after you, and all of those things have died. So property taxes are there, luxury taxes are there, taxes on even excise duties are there. There's a taxes on alcohol, on cigarettes, and so on. The other time under Kemi Adeosun, they wanted to increase that the excise duties. The private sector rose against that and said never. So where is that going to come from? We have so many opportunities to increase revenue in this country, while we're also cutting revenue expenses or expenditure in some areas. For example, the appurtenances of office. Sometimes people have raised the issue of maybe the National Assembly should work part-time. We know that they are never going to pass that law, okay, because they won't hurt themselves. Everybody is in there to probably have a good life and make some money, unfortunately, and that's not what it should be. So we're actually getting to that point at which some of these issues will have to be considered very strongly too. On the expenditure end, there are many things you can cut back. Okay, I also have moved in the past that this country, we can actually have, a maintenance budget for the next 10 years and say that, look, the infrastructure we have, we want to maintain them. We want to revisit them. There are more than 30,000 abandoned projects in this country. However, every year we want to start a new one, and a lot of these things end up as white elephant projects. So we have a lot of opportunity. Our work is cut out for us in this country. We have a lot of space for growth and to reorganize ourselves. And I think we hope that at some point some of these things get done very tangibly. But we should expect that government will increase taxes at some point, not only in the areas that can pay. Okay, one of the attributes of a good taxation is, are you taxing someone who can pay? You don't tax small businesses that are struggling, not when they're just trying to come out of a recession and of all of the lockdowns and pandemics. But they know They know where the money is, you know, the luxury items. I mean, we see last scenarios in this country. People go to nightclubs and spend 10 million naira in a night, in a single night, in nightclubs. So we know where the money is. Government should follow the money. And if they do, we're going to be better for it. But I would also urge that no matter what, you know, misgivings people have against government, past and present, they should understand that this country is ours. And, you know, you have to chip in as well in order to get the good things of life like in other countries.
Well, more taxes, more development. Thank you so very much, Mr. Tope Faswa, for sharing your thoughts with us on the way to go to get more revenue for more development of our nation.
Yes, thank you very much.
Moving on, amid monumental challenges posed by climate change, particularly energy transition and related issues, the coming decade, anchored on the African Continental Free Trade Area, offers great opportunities for Africa's socio-economic transformation. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this in a message delivered at the closing of the 2021 Conference on African Insurance Practitioners, themed Rebuilding Africa's Economy and Insurance Perspective, urging African insurance practitioners to leverage opportunities in the African free trade zones. The Vice President said every smart economic grouping, whether government or business, must be thinking, planning and strategizing for this new normal. Well, in a bid to ensure transparency and clarity for auditing within the banking system, the Central Bank of Nigeria has instructed banks and payment service providers to separate all transactions categorized as bulk payment upon transition. The Apex Bank, in a circular signed by the Director of Payment System Management Department, Musa Jimo, directed banks and PSBs to comply with the directive and all other payment system regulations. The statement stresses that this is because the central bank has noticed the inherent problems associated with the processing of bulk transfers by banks and payment service providers. Currently, originating banks and PSPs pass a single debit entry through initiating customers' account and multiple credits to beneficiaries without adequate records of the credit entries in their system, which distorts the audit trail and hampers transparency. Health, they say, is wealth. This is the story of a woman whose business is to provide quality, healthy beverages to her customers. This, she said, she gave up her white-collar job for. Let's now join Bosede Abel for details.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Mariam Testimony Akonde is a health nutritionist who gave up her profession for her passion.
We are into healthy. We like to talk about health. Health nutritionist, that's what I am. You know, I'm into healthy foods. Actually, I used to work with Ethiopian Airlines, really, but passion won't let me be, you know.
At the initial stage, it wasn't an easy adventure, but the doggedness in her gave her the courage to press on.
I remember someone telling me that, don't you know that people who leave their job to go after their passion don't really make money? But I'm yet to prove them wrong. I know consistency will actually prove them wrong. I started with 7 products, turmeric, cabbage flour. Really, there was a time I had sugar spike and there was no food to eat. And I felt like I'm dying, you know. And I discovered that doing a lot of research, I discovered that I could actually use food to heal myself. And I did some research and some courses, so I discovered that food can actually heal one. You know, when I started eating right, like having my coconut swallow, having my eggplant, having all the healthy things. Sometimes I use tiger nut as my milk, plant-based milk. I discovered that my sugar was really going down, even without being on insulin. And I just dived into healthy food stuff.
Although Mariam has been in the business for 3 years, the COVID-19 pandemic is one experience that will always ring a bell.
During that COVID, because we sell things like turmeric tea, what COVID did for me was it birthed new things like our teas that sells like hot cake. That's what COVID did, because eventually we had to do some research. We discovered that there are some teas that are amazing. I mean, like chamomile tea, it relaxes you, like life is beautiful. Like dopam tea, when you have high blood pressure or you are disturbed, it calms your nerves. I mean, it calms you down.
Excited about seeing her dream gradually coming true, Mariam wishes she can access the federal government's loan through the CBN, as it will help boost her business. Boss said they able. Business Express.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Well, now oil prices rose for a second session on Thursday, recovering from earlier losses as a decline in U.S. Gulf of Mexico output underpinned the market. With that, we now look at prices of other commodities on the global market this Thursday. The capital market posted negative result at the end of Wednesday's trading session as investors lost 24.37 billion naira. The all-share index fell 0.12% to close at 39,204.52 basis points and market capitalization at 20.4 trillion naira. 354.06 million shares valued at 3.2 billion naira exchanged hands in 4,095 deals. The financial services sector dominated the activity chart with FBN Holdings, Access Bank and Universal Insurance PLC. And on the global scene, European stock futures slid on Thursday, tracking Asian shares lower on concerns of slowing global growth. Bosedi Abel has an update.
European stocks are expected to open lower on Thursday as investors in the region watch for announcement from the European Central Bank. London FTSE is in opening 38 points lower at 7,095.53. Germany's DAX 45 points lower at 15,610.28, and France's CAC 40 down 17 points at 6,668.89. Hong Kong stocks fell in Thursday trade, with shares in the rest of Asia Pacific also largely declining. The broader Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong dropped 1.97%. Shanghai Composite in mainland China hovered fractionally higher, while Nikkei in Japan dipped 0.57%. U.S. stock futures were lower in early morning trading Thursday as investors remained cautious on the remaining month of trading. Dow futures fell more than 160 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures both traded in negative territory. While in Africa, stocks are yet to post figures. Boss said they able. Business Express.
Before we go, let's see the forex market where the US dollar is holding higher. Let's see the exchange rate to the naira. That wraps this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us. Do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Friday at 3 p.m. I am Benny Adams saying, keep thinking and doing business.